So as I'm releasing this video, 2026 marks the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. So I thought it'd be really cool to go over 30 years of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow ROM hacks. I'm going to start at the beginning and come all the way to modern day. If you like this kind of video and want to see more, drop a like, drop a sub, drop a comment, it really helps me. Also, join the Discord. The link to that and all of these Pokemon ROM hacks will be in the description. Anyways, let's get into this from the beginning. So this is very predictable, but shockingly, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were a lot of limitations on ROM hacking Red and Blue. Scripting in particular, which is when you create custom events, was very hard to do, and a lot of ROM hacks that changed certain things wouldn't actually change the flow of the game. You would still have to go to Silph.co and still fight your rival and still essentially do the same events as the vanilla Red, Blue, and Yellow games. So the first ever documented Pokemon ROM hack was Pokemon TREP or TREP in 1998 by OldieFix98. It didn't really have many changes, and the second hack, Pokemon Oak's Dream, had a few more. The protagonist instead of Red is Professor Oak, and the rival instead of Blue is Giovanni. Changing the overworld of the players seemed to be very popular at this time, and another style of ROM hack that started to become popular and very influential down the line was the Edgy Hack. Now, with the start of the Pokemon fan base, most players were young, right? So these kinds of edgy ROM hacks would only need to use text changes to reference drugs, sex, and violence to get a lot from a young player base. Pokemon by Ice Sage is a perfect example of this. Made in 1999, this ROM hack was actually the first ROM hack to make map edits. It was branded as a quote-unquote adult hack with references to swearing and drugs. Another example, I'm sorry Coolboy Man, is Fangame by Coolboy Man. This is another example of an edgy hack at the time, but it did take the concept to a new level. One more example of this is Pokemob by Cat42, a friend of Ice Sage. The reason I'm talking about some of these adult or explicit hacks is because it represents the buffer period between the vanilla games and when ROM hacks actually became good. Because of limited computer technology and limited internet access, there's really only so much that can be done at the start, but these hacks generally just make sense. I would call all of these hacks completely unplayable by modern standards and very not politically correct, but I mean, it is a glimpse of the past and a glimpse of the old internet. It is funny to scroll through YouTube comments and see what people were saying many years ago. So now we're going to get to the hacks that started changing more. Pokemon Brown was completed in 2004 with betas released in 2002 and 2003. This ROM hack was made by the legendary ROM hacker Coolboy Man, and at this point he had experience from other hacks that allowed him to make a whole new region and complete the game. This in fact was the first Gen 1 ROM hack to have a complete new region. Once this game was completed, it served as an inspiration to other hackers on what could be done as it was such an advancement at the time. It's hard to state how much new stuff that this hack brought to the table. However, what stood out to me about this hack at this time was the new scripting and the new types. There's 5 new types: Wood, Gas, Abnormal, Wind and Sound, and Dark and Steel from Gen 2 and Fairy from Gen 6. This hack has had many updates and many new releases over the years. However, in 2024, the Rainbow devs released a new and final version of this game. This release in 2024 had features from much more modern RBY hacks in the 2020s specifically. This care let a Pokemon ROM hack that started in 2002 eventually have a lot more modern features 20 years later. Pokemon Brown was a crazy advancement in the Pokemon ROM hacking scene as a whole. Coolboy Man let me know this hack was made through a lot of trial and error, and this set the ground floor for ROM hacking as a whole in the Pokemon scene. And yes, you are not crazy, there is a 3D game in this video. This is Pokemon Brown 3D. Released in 2026, this is actually not a ROM hack but rather a fan game. This game uses the Pokemon 3D engine by Colbin Games. The project was created by Leakim and Miragix before being taken on by the Rainbow devs with the leader Jappa Waka. Awesome name, by the way. This is an incredibly unique way to play a Pokemon ROM hack, and I find 2 things really cool. Number 1, the fact this game looks so good, and number 2, the fact that the effort was put in all the years later to make a Pokemon 3D version of Brown. Now that I talked about how Pokemon Brown changed everything and laid the floor for the Pokemon ROM hacking scene as a whole, I'm going to talk about Pokemon Knife, a hack by Z80A where you stab people. Cool. This actually was one of the first RBY hacks to have advanced assembly in the overworld though, I will say. In 2007, we have Pokemon TRE, aka Team Rocket Edition by Pokeglitch. This hack has a new story and lets you play as Jesse and James, but isn't particularly Rocket-like, and it technically has a new region, but it's kind of just a reskin of Kanto. This hack had pretty limited scripting, meaning that you're just kind of going through the vanilla RBY elements kind of reskinned, I guess. In 2009, Cartmic released the demo for Pokemon Violet. This hack was notably inspired by Pokemon Brown and has a very unique story compared to what other Pokemon ROM hacks tend to do. This hack was never finished, but a demo was released. I still do think that even if your hack is not finished, it can still be an influential hack in the timeline of Pokemon ROM hacking. So now let's talk about the 2010s. 2013 and onwards brought a lot. Let's start with the Pokemon Red and Blue Gen 2 graphics and music patch by Danny E33. This hack essentially transformed the Gen 1 aesthetic into the Gen 2 aesthetic. Many hacks going forward use this Gen 2 style. Think of it more like a resource and not as much its own complete hack. It's kind of a building off point for other hacks more or less. In 2013 we get the Pokemon Intense Indigo edition by Sinister Hooded Figure. This guy's a Pokemon ROM hacking legend, one of the most beloved I would say, with some very great hacks. And this hack is kind of like Pokemon TRE a little bit, where it's technically its own thing but kind of a reskin but trying to do its own thing. However, as many people know, the point of Sinister Hooded Figure aka SHF's hacks is to be very difficult. This hack was his starting point and a start of great things to come. This hack was released alongside the less difficult Pokemon Indigo Light version. I'm not exactly sure why you'd want to play an easier version of an SHF hack though, as the difficulty is kind of the fun part. In 2013 we got Pokemon Maze by Shantytown. This hack featured the all-new region of Boldore with later gen types, a physical special split, and a new Pokedex. It also featured later gen things like the running shoes and the day and night cycle. Back in the day, it was one of the first hacks that I've seen with a built-in Nuzlocke mode. This hack was a great advancement at the time, but unfortunately it only ended up reaching 6 gems. I played this hack when it came out and I thought it was a really cool hack that tried to modernize the game a little bit but keep the charm of the original. It also had custom music tracks like some Sonic songs that I remember. It was very unique and had a little bit of mystery to it. Although it came out much later than Brown, this and Brown kind of stood out as standout hacks at this point for me that had a completely new region and made the Gen 1 hacking scene feel special. In 2014 we got Pokemon Grape by ADC. Even though ADC is a controversial ROM hacker, this is a beautiful ROM hack of Pokemon Red with a bunch of different new types. There's 25 types in total. Hacks like Brown and Grape were ones that added a lot more features from later gens. This hack has a physical special split, this hack has Pokemon from later gens, so it's pretty obvious that we do see progression of hacks here. At this point, there were a lot of popular GBC and GBA hacks, so it kind of makes sense that you wouldn't want to fall behind to them. The early to mid 2010s is when Pokemon ROM hacking really started to get going. In 2014, Sinister Hooded Figure released the beloved Pokemon Blue Kaizol. Like I said before, I think these Kaizol games were extremely influential for Pokemon challenges and the way that people play Pokemon Nuzlocks and stuff like that right now. It seems like every year there's a huge hack that comes out that's harder than the last. And honestly, I do think that the Kaizol games are a huge influential pillar of this. I think Emerald Kaizol in particular, which came after this, was a big factor in that. But yeah, the point of these games was to be extremely difficult, and a lot of enemy Pokemon at the end of the game go over level 100. However, you the player are stuck at level 100 as your max level. So let's talk about Pokered, the Pokemon Red Disassembly. This was started in 2009 by II Marcus, or 2 Marcus, I'll just say 2 Marcus. Disassembly is essentially the result of a game getting reverse engineered into editable assembly code. This would let hackers either make their own project or another resource for other ROM hackers. 2 Marcus started doing this by hand in 2009, but in 2012 Kanzer started helping by making Python tools to essentially automate some of the process. In 2014, Pokered reached 100% coverage, meaning it no longer needed a pre-existing ROM to essentially fill in the gaps. Technically, these disassembly projects are never fully complete. However, at this point this project was fully good to go for your own ROM hack. From here, disassembly hacks became the norm. There became little reason to do old school binary hacking, which can lead to a lot of bugs and headaches, to be honest. Manually editing all the data in hexadecimal form is just a recipe for disaster.
So yeah, this is the actual ROM data of Pokemon Silver, and viewed like this, it doesn't make much sense, and it doesn't have to make much sense either.
In 2015, Lucky Typhlosion's Pokeyellow fork was made from the Pokered GitHub repository. This now meant that ROM hackers could make Pokemon Yellow disassembly hacks. Pokemon Strike Yellow version is an enhancement hack of Pokemon Yellow released in 2014. This is the self-proclaimed first Pokemon Yellow hack. This hack has a variety of quality of life changes and has all 151 Pokemon catchable/pinnable. It features many changes to enemy trainers and also many changes to Pokemon base stats. This hack has been updated through a long period of time and just had its final release in 2026. In 2014 we also got Pokemon Red Battle Factory by Shantytown, who also made Pokemon Maze. This hack was made completely by the Pokered Disassembly project. This is one of the first hacks to do so. Many hacks beforehand simply used binary tools to edit the actual ROM itself. So this hack is a recreation of the Gen 3 and Gen 4 Pokemon Battle Factory. This hack uses the Gen 1 battle engine with custom movesets for Pokemon. There's no story whatsoever in this game, it's simply just a Battle Factory recreation. I personally really like unique hacks like this that have a specific purpose in mind. In 2014 and onwards, we got Pokemon Red++ by Luna. This is one of these very high quality ROM hacks from a veteran Pokemon ROM hacker. This hack features a normal version and a hard version with different level curves. It also features many later gen Pokemon. It has moves from later gens. It has stuff like headbutt trees. Overall, this is a very high quality enhancement of Pokemon Red. There's not a ton more to say. If you're looking for a great Red ROM hack, this might be one for you. In 2015, we got another conceptual hack by Shantytown. We got Pokemon Thief Red version. This is a somewhat vanilla hack of Pokemon Red, except the only Pokemon that you can catch are the Pokemon of other trainers. You cannot catch wild Pokemon. This is quite a simple change, but honestly completely alters the way that you would play this Pokemon game. In addition to this, none of your Pokemon gain any EXP whatsoever, so you're stuck with the Pokemon you catch as you catch them. I kinda wanna nuzlocke either this game or the Pokemon Ruby version, Pokemon Thief Ruby, on my channel, so be on the lookout for that. It sounds really interesting. Originally released in 2015, the Pokemon Red Anniversary version, also known as the Twitch Plays Pokemon version, is a hack of Pokemon Red that essentially makes it harder and is designed for the Twitch Plays Pokemon challenge. The Rainbow devs also made some later additions. However, because this was actually designed for the Twitch Plays Pokemon, some may argue that this game's difficulty spikes and level curves are not actually designed well for humans, so just keep this in mind. In 2016, Long Lost Soldier released Pokemon Evo Yellow. This is a disassembly hack in which all Pokemon can follow you, not just Pikachu. It also has an expanded Pokedex, later gen moves, later gen types, and also later gen areas like Mount Silver. In 2016, Danny E33 ended up releasing the Pokemon Yellow Gen 2 graphics patch. Like the Red graphics patch, this patch basically just improves the appearance and makes it more Gen 2-like. In 2011, a team at Skitendo made Pokemon Green in English. This is a hack of Pokemon Blue that essentially transforms it into the original Green translated. For those who do not know, Pokemon Red and Blue were the English release versions and what we got here in America, but the original Pokemon games were actually Red and Green in Japan. This is essentially a translation of Pokemon Green stacked on top of a Pokemon Blue English ROM. So now we got some quote-unquote creepy ROM hacks. Pokemon Black by AX461 was released in 2017. This hack has nothing to do with the Unova game, instead it's based off the 2010 Pokemon Creepypasta, Pokemon Black. In this Creepypasta, the unknown author details finding a Pokemon Black cartridge somewhere, and playing it and finding the ghost Pokemon replacing the starter, and it uses Curse to one-hit KO enemy Pokemon, but not before you hear the stretched out, distorted cry of the Pokemon that faints. As the author writes, quote, "The implication was that the Pokemon died." So essentially, the player goes around the Kanto region just killing every Pokemon and trainer. And at the end of the game, after the author beats the Elite Four, every Pokemon that is killed is shown at the end as the Lavender Town music slows down. It's a very dramatic creepypasta, and this hack actually recreates it amazingly. I'm actually very impressed with the technical accuracy of the game. So yeah, Pokemon Black delivers on the premise of essentially recreating the creepypasta one-to-one. And this next hack might just be my favorite one that I found researching this video. In 2017, Plaguemon was made by Hikikomori. This hack might be the most ridiculous high-effort hack I have ever seen. It is a masterpiece of pure edginess. The dialogue, the font, the Pokemon replacements, their Pokedex entries, everything about this game is just pure edginess and pure hilariousness. This hack is like one of those 1999 adult hacks, but way later with a lot more technical skill put into it, but the same soul at heart. Every part about this game just made me laugh, I'm gonna be honest. Think of this game as kind of the modern age Snakewood. Like, I mean, some of the dialogue in this game is just insane. Okay, those are the only two modern edgy hacks I wanted to mention. In 2018, Azure Keys released Pokemon Unova Red, which replaced all the original 151 Pokemon with the new Unova 156. This hack has two patches, a normal mode and a challenge mode. The sprites for the Gen 5 Pokemon ported to Gen 1 are very cool and interesting in my opinion. Okay, so now we're going to go through a lot of modern Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow enhancement hacks. All of these hacks are Pokered hacks, which is really cool. In 2015, the Scarlet Sword released Pokemon Red and Blue Deluxe, not to be confused with Pokemon Fire Deluxe, my amazing ROM hack that came out like 8 years later. But anyways, this is a set of two Pokemon Red and Blue enhancement hacks. The Red and the Blue version are different from each other. This game has a lot of later gen Pokemon and moves, and honestly looks really beautiful, to be honest. In addition to different difficulty settings, this hack also has the Battle Factory and Battle Tent ported from other hacks. This is the beauty of Disassembly hacks. Because so many people make their projects open source, if you want to add something, you can just do it. It also asks at the start of the game if you want to play in inverse mode, which is crazy and honestly super cool. In 2018, JoJo Bear 13 started working on Shin Pokemon. This is a set of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green hacks that essentially focus on glitch fixing and polish. It has a lot of great graphical and color enhancements, as well as all Pokemon available and catchable. Shouts to this dude, by the way, for crediting his wife in production. In 2023, Vortien released Pokemon PureRGB. They had 2 very popular videos on YouTube showcasing these hacks, so if you want more info, go click on those. They'll be in the description. However, to summarize, this hack has an absolutely crazy help menu with customizable type matchups and different sprite selections. It also has a lot of cool new events. For example, you can actually catch the Ghost Marowak in Lavender Town and then go on a side story revenge plot. In 2024, Memento Martha released the Kanto expansion pack. This hack adds a lot of things onto the pre-existing Kanto region. There is a lot of new Pokemon and new areas in this game. There's regional forms of Kanto Pokemon in this hack, and also Spaceworld evolutions of Kanto Pokemon. For those who don't know, the Gold and Silver Spaceworld demo was a very early alpha of Pokemon Gold and Silver. It was demoed at the Spaceworld event in Japan. This let everyone see Pokemon that did not end up making the cut. Even if they did not use the original Spaceworld Pokemon, some hacks did use the Spaceworld sprites, however. This is the case for Pokemon Red and Blue Spaceworld Edition by Rangi. In this hack, all Pokemon are catchable, it has some features from Pokemon Yellow, and a lot of graphical upgrades from the Spaceworld demo. Okay, that was a complete tangent, I'm sorry. In 2025, we got Pokemon Yume. This game is released as Pokemon Yume Red, Blue, or Green version. These versions have different encounter rates, however they all have 151 Pokemon all catchable. This hack has a lot of new areas before and after the Elite Four. It focuses a lot on polish and more subtle tweaks. For all of these modern Red, Blue, and Yellow enhancement hacks, it's really hard to go wrong in my opinion. They all have different spins on pretty similar ideas. And with that said, I have one more super unique hack to talk about in this video. With the absolutely crazy success of Pokemon on the Game Boy, some developers made their own games using the Pokemon formula. The unlicensed Taiwanese company known as Vast Fame was one of them, releasing Space Time Star Beast in 2001. This hack, Star Beast's Asteroid version, essentially exists as a port of this game to the Pokemon RBY engine. I absolutely love the designs of the Fakemon, they are so fucking cool. This genuinely might be one of the most unique Pokemon ROM hacks I have ever seen. So that is all I got. If you like this video, drop a like, drop a sub, drop a comment, and let me know that you want to see this for other gens. Gen 3 is not going to be an easy one to make. If there's any other Gen 1 hacks that I missed, let me know either in the comments or in the Reddit thread in the description. Thanks y'all so much for watching. Peace.